It's been 5 days since flash floods hit central Texas, and residents are still looking for survivors in the aftermath. At least 110 people are dead across 6 counties. Rescue crews continue to comb through the region, but hope is fading for survivors. Officials in the hardest-hit Kerr County reported the deaths of 57 adults and 30 children as of this morning, with 161 more people still missing just from that county. No one there has been found alive since Friday. To this point, the White House response is basically, it could have been worse. And in the face of such a massive act of God, all you can do is pray. But the U.S. government, the federal government, is the entity that plans for and deals with extreme weather, severe weather events, and issues warnings. And the Trump administration has been pillaging that infrastructure almost from the jump. New York Times reported this week that crucial positions at the local offices of the National Weather Service were unfilled as the severe rains fell and the water levels rose early Friday. Those were positions that would have helped communicate with local authorities. In fact, last month, a bipartisan group of congressmen introduced a bill to get the National Weather Service fully staffed before this year's storm season. Now here we are. One of those members of Congress is Congressman Eric Sorensen, a Democrat of Illinois, who spent more than 2 decades as a news meteorologist, including several years in Texas, and he joins me now. Congressman, first, just given your background in this, I've been looking at some of the data about the severity and extremity of this event, and it just kind of takes your breath away. As someone who's a meteorologist for 20 years, what are we looking at here in terms of the sheer extremity of this?
Right. It's one of those unfathomable things. But we do know, Chris, that these types of events can happen. We know that this is one of the most flash flood prone rivers in the entire nation. As the only meteorologist in Congress, after spending 22 years on local television covering these floods, being in the floods as they ravage so many places, after we see these extreme events, now we need the policy. Now we need the reaction. Now we need the right answers, especially from this administration that has come down so hard on the weather enterprise. And let me just tell you, Chris, it's not just the folks in Central Texas that are affected by this. There is a trauma that is going through the world of meteorologists, and especially those heroes at the New Braunfels National Weather Service office who are working so hard to make sure people stayed safe. And look at the disaster. There are so many people in meteorology that are saying, could we have done more?
That point you made about the sort of what has been done to the kind of weather infrastructure. I mean, I had foolishly, I now realize, thought that the response of Republican administrations to climate change and extreme weather would be to say, there's nothing we can do about that. This is the world we have now, but here's how we can work on mitigation and hardening it. Instead, to my utter disbelief, the Trump administration has frontally attacked every level of the federal infrastructure to prepare for and deal with extreme weather.
Right. It's kind of the thoughts and prayers analogy that you're bringing up, right? Because, we've got to get through the trauma before we start to fix things. But we know this. We know what the National Weather Service needs to do. In fact, I believe that after these big traumatic national events, what we need is very similar to what happens when there is an airline crash. We need an NTSB. Just for weather. Yeah. We need to understand how the meteorology was disseminated to the people. Were they able to react to it? Were they able to get to a higher ground? We have to understand all of the facets here so that we make better decisions in the future, because we know these storms have had huge floods on the Guadalupe River in the 1970s, in 2002, and now in 2025.
That's a great analogy of that NTSB. I mean, obviously, if we were dealing the aftermath of a plane crash with, 30 campers on it, right, we would want to know why this plane crashed. Obviously, some of this is, random chance and catastrophe. This is some reporting from the Texas Tribune, which I do think, there's this back and forth about the forecasting, and the Tribune reporting today that the National Weather Service was alerting flash flood warnings with a 3-hour and 21-minute window before that water really starts to get up and flood the banks of the Guadalupe. That's how much time has passed between when the National Weather Service sent out its first flash flood warning for that part of Kerr County to when the first flooding reports came in. If any local officials got those warnings, if so, whether they activated in any meaningful way remains a black box. To your point about the necessity of people understanding this as policy, right? Dealing with this as policy and not just we throw our hands up.
Right, and let's be honest. This type of event where you have epic amounts of water coming down, these are climate fuel disasters. As we're putting more energy into the climate system, we're going to get more of these storms more frequently. And so we can either choose in America to ignore it and have more dead children, or we can actually do something about it. Because this isn't a partisan issue. It's a nonpartisan issue. It affects red states and blue states. And so we need to be better at making better policy so that we don't just have to react every time one of these things happens.
Yeah, and just obviously, I know you feel this way, and all of us who follow this tragedy, it almost makes you pass out from grief just to spend any time thinking about the scope of what those folks down there are dealing with right now. So we're thinking about everyone there who's still missing loved ones. Congressman Eric Sorensen.
Thank you, Chris, for that, and thank you for spending so much time on this. It's important to talk about.